Hi, I'm Mike with Illinois Carry Training. We're out here at the range today to give you some ideas of what we're looking for in safety. Safety is paramount to us and to your instruction. It needs to be followed very closely, and we want to alleviate any of the problems that we see every day out here on the range. So if you just take a few minutes and join along with us, we'll show you everything we expect to see out here at the range. The minimum required safety gear to do any shooting, and this should be every time you're shooting, is you need to have some good quality eye protection. There are many different brands out there that will suffice, and the next thing you need is some good quality ear protection. If you didn't bring any with you today, we can help you out there, but we suggest that any time you're shooting you have good quality products to protect your eyes and ears. You only get one set. We strongly believe that you need to protect them as well as they can. When you get out to the range, there should be absolutely no ammunition in your magazines or alongside of your gun. One problem we see all the time is people just grabbing their gun out of their bag and holstering it. That is not allowed on our range. We will take you forward and we will have you unbag the gun and put it in your holster when we're there to supervise it. When you get to the range, you need to make sure that your gun is securely cased. You can see I have a range bag here. Make absolutely certain that the muzzle of your gun is pointing down range. It can't be pointing sideways, can't be pointing to the back. If you open up your case and you see that your gun is pointing the wrong direction, make sure you spin that case and you turn the gun around so it is pointing safely down range. Another thing is, we need to make sure everybody stays on the back surface of these tables. We've got 3 tables out here, a picnic table and a couple of these pallet tables. Make sure that everybody's on the back side, nobody's wandering around towards the front, because that's the direction the muzzles are going to be pointing. One thing you need to make absolute certain of is that you've got good quality equipment. We have seen guns hit the ground as soon as somebody put them in their holster. That is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. Guns are expensive. Don't go cheap on your holsters. You need to buy a good quality holster. They're not that expensive. The most you should ever have to pay for a good quality holster is $100. I've got several examples right here. Kydex holster I just got out of Georgia. Took me about 3 days. $50. Took me about 5 minutes to adjust it, and it works really well. Another type of holster is just a standard paddle holster. This is a Blade Tech standard paddle holster. Also comes with belt loops. You can just slip this right down your pants and it'll latch down. It stays fairly secure with the belt loops. It is rock solid. The kind of holster we prefer is any type of holster that goes on the belt. This is a Comptac Minotaur. You can see how quickly it removes. This is a very good quality holster. Has a leather backing so you don't have any plastic against your body if you decide to carry inside the waistband. Holds the guns very securely. You can see quite simply here, it gets in there, it locks in very well, but it's not encumbering the draw at all. It pops right out of there. Very good quality holster. You can't afford not to have a quality holster. Another thing we see a lot is some guys are bringing just a regular little Uncle Mike's belt clip on the belt with the metal belt clip. 90% of the guys, when they draw the gun, the holster's coming with them. That's not really what you want to see. It's not going to do you any good in a defensive carry situation. Another type of holster we see out here is a shoulder holster. If you do have a shoulder holster, make sure you inform us immediately when you get to the range, because we will have to place you to the far left side of the range so that you're not drawing or sweeping anybody. Some people use a belt-mounted cross-draw holster. As soon as you use one of those, if anybody's to your left, you're going to be sweeping them. Same with a shoulder holster, no matter how it's rigged. When you draw that gun, you have no way of not sweeping somebody. We prefer not to see them out on the range, but they are acceptable. We just have to know beforehand so that we can get you positioned on the range so everybody else is safe. Once again, when you arrive out at the range, we expect you to safely unbag your gun, take it out of your car. What we're looking for is just grab your gun bag, grab it out of your car, get it over here, to one of our benches. We've got 3 of them available, plenty of room for everybody. First thing we want you to do, unzip your bag. Make sure you have ear protection, eye protection. Those are mandatory anytime we're on the range and when there's live fire going on. Next thing we want you to do, take a look at your gun. My gun is pointing uprange. I need to turn around my bag immediately. I see my gun is now pointing downrange. I'm not going to handle my gun any further. So now we've got our gun on the bench, we've got our bag on the bench or our gun case. We're all ready. To save time out here, you can go ahead and get out your holster, get it on your belt. Absolutely no handling of the firearm until we tell you. Another thing you can do to save some time, you can get in your case, get out your magazines, get out your ammunition. Go ahead and start loading magazines. Load every magazine you've got clear full. We'll be going through a little bit of ammunition today, so go ahead and get those so we're all prepared once we do start firing to save a lot of time. Once we have the range set up and we're all prepared to start having you holster your firearms, we'll come back. You can let us know when you're ready. We'll come back, get you up to the front of the shoot house here, and we'll just have you set your firearm case on the ground, and we'll be standing right alongside of you. At that time, we'll tell you holster your gun. What you'll need to do at that time is just go ahead, get your gun out of the case. Once again, you have to make sure at this point that your gun is pointing downrange. My gun is safely pointing downrange. I'm just going to take it out of my case and I'm going to holster it. At that time, there will be no magazines in the gun, no ammunition in the gun. We'll do that when we're on the firing line. We'll make sure you're safe, and you can go ahead and go back behind the line. What we'll do now is we'll start out with going through our range commands. Once we have everybody assigned a firing position, we make sure all the shoulder holsters and cross-draw holsters are on the proper side of the range for whether you're right or left-handed. We'll come forward, we'll get all set up on the range, we'll all be spaced apart, and my first command will be load and make ready. Now on the load and make ready command, the most important thing we want to make sure of is your finger is never going to enter the trigger guard of the handgun. The trigger finger is always up high in what we call an index position or on the indicator button. You got to make sure that we don't see any of this. Very common problem. Any match that you go to, if there's any of that activity seen, no matter what your match entry fee is, you'll be excused from the range and you forfeit your fees. We can't allow any of this kind of activity to happen ever. Not during a reload, not when we're loading the handgun. So when we give the command to load and make ready, you'll unholster your handgun. You'll insert your magazine, or if you've got a revolver, you'll swing out the cylinder. You'll load the cylinder. We expect you to put one in the chamber. If you have a safety on your gun, make sure you activate the safety. If you want to pinch check it, make sure there's a loaded round in the chamber. That's fine as well. And once again, this index finger never comes close to that trigger. Once you've inserted the magazine, put a round in the chamber, pinch checked if that's what you feel comfortable doing. The next step is, once again, making sure that index finger never goes anywhere near the trigger guard, is you're going to holster your gun and you're just going to stand with your hands at ease somewhere behind your back, in front of your back, at your sides. Just make sure you're not touching your gun at any time. Once everybody on the line has heard the command load and make ready, and we're pretty sure that everybody is ready to go ahead and fire, we're going to go over the course of fire. Sometimes we'll just have you firing 1 shot, sometimes we'll have you firing 2 shots, sometimes we'll be firing until our magazine or revolver is empty. The next command after that is going to be, we're going to ask, is the line ready? If somebody hasn't got their revolver loaded, if somebody hasn't got their gun holstered properly, if somebody's forgot to put their ears or eyes on, just raise your hand and we'll know the line is not ready. Once we come over, take care of your problem, if you need our help, we'll once again ask, is the line ready? Once we see that that has happened, the next command will be, the line is ready. So first it'll be, is the line ready? Once we see the line is ready, we will go ahead and say the line is ready. At that time, you will do nothing. That's just us acknowledging that everybody on the line is prepared to shoot. If perchance during the course of fire you encounter any problems, the first thing you need to do is make sure your muzzle is safely pointed downrange and raise your hand. One of us will come over to assist you. If it can't be assisted immediately until the course of fire is complete, we'll assess that. And always remember, the first thing you're going to check if you have any malfunction is tap, rack, and assess. So make sure you've tried to clear your own malfunctions. If there's something that happens that you can't clear, just raise your hand. We'll be over to assist you immediately. We'll get everything cleared away so that the line is safe. And once again, remember that muzzle has to point straight down range. You can't point it at the ground, you can't point it in the air, you can't swing it to either side. That muzzle has to stay safely downrange at the target. We've already been through load and make ready, is the line ready, and the line is ready. Our next command will be commence fire. Now whether that commence fire command is for 1 shot, 2 shots, empty your magazine, or during the course of qualification for 10 rounds, once we say commence fire, that means you draw, you commence fire at your target, and you're going to proceed shooting at that target until you are done with whatever that string is. There's no time limit on any of our strings of fire. We're here to do this safely and in the best way for you to learn and to get the best practice. And during the qualification, we're more stressed about you getting the perfect hits on the target. Time is not of the essence at all here. We don't worry about time. It's all about safety and making sure you understand your handgun and how it's going to work for you. Once again, we'll start at the very top and we'll go through all the range commands and we'll take it top to bottom. We'll show you what we expect and what we're going to do out here on the range to make sure we're being safe. Load and make ready. Is the line ready? The line is ready. Commence fire. At this point, I'm going to check your chamber to make sure it's empty. If you're shooting a revolver, swing out the cylinder. One of the range personnel will check and make sure your cylinder is empty as well. Chamber's clear, slide forward. Hammer down. When I give the hammer down command, I expect for that weapon to be dry fired. Pardon me, handgun will be dry fired. If you've got a revolver, we cycle through the complete cycle of the pistol. We're going to drop that hammer. Dry firing does not hurt, and it's a requirement here on our range to make sure there's no live ammo in the handgun before you reholster, and you may be going back to the safe points at the range. Holster. My last command will be, as soon as everybody is reholstered, I will say the range is clear. That means we're now safe and we'll be going forward and scoring or whatever we're going to be doing after that. Anytime we see a problem where we need to holler cease fire on the range, we will call out very loudly cease fire. At that time, we expect everybody to stop firing immediately. Keep your gun pointed safely downrange. The next thing you'll do after hearing the ceasefire command, we can't come by and tell everybody this, but you'll need to put your gun on safe. If you've got a revolver, of course you don't have a safety. A lot of our new semi-automatics don't have conventional safeties. If you do have a conventional thumb safety, put it on safe. At that time, you'll reholster your handgun. We know you're going to be hot. We don't expect anybody to be turning up range. We expect you all to stand easy, hands behind the back, hands on top of the head, hands relaxed at sides. Do not handle your gun after the ceasefire command. It's very rare that it happens, but it can happen, and we need to be prepared for it. If the course of fire is less than the capacity of your handgun, of course we're going to be holstering live handguns. We've got to be very careful about where our trigger finger is when we're holstering it. It's always got to be on that indicator button or index point, whatever you prefer to call it. But one thing that absolutely cannot happen is anytime you're handling the gun other than when you're on target and squeezing that trigger, the trigger finger cannot be in the trigger guard. Cannot be in there during a reload. We will caution you. That's just one practice that is not acceptable ever. A lot of accidents happen from people getting sloppy with their index finger. When they're reholstering their handgun, they end up shooting a toe because they've activated the trigger with their finger as they're holstering. That's one thing that we can't allow to happen, and we will not allow to happen here. Another thing is, when you have that 7-round capacity semi-automatic, you've got a revolver, you're going to have to reload during our qualification. These reloads are not timed, but they have to be done safely. Make sure you don't have to drop the magazine out and put it in your pocket or anything. If you want to, and if you can do that quickly, that's fine. Otherwise, let that magazine hit the ground, reload, and get back on target. Another thing is, make sure your muzzle is always pointing downrange at any time during the live fire, whether you're reloading a magazine, reloading a revolver cylinder. If you're reloading a revolver, it's real easy to be pointing that way. It's easiest just to kick your right foot back, reload that revolver, then square up again in your usual stance for balance and comfort. We want to thank you all for being here. Once again, the safety on the range is the most important part of our class. There's only one thing that exceeds the basis of the fundamentals of shooting, and that is the safety. That's one thing that we'll always stress in our class, and that's one thing you should always stress at home. Whether you're shooting out in a field, whatever, you need to know all your basic fundamentals of safety as well as your basic fundamentals of shooting. We thank you for being here. We're glad you could make it, and we hope that you can enjoy everything you've learned in the class and out on the range. If you have any questions, please contact us as soon as you can via email or just give us a call. Thank you.